Welcome to another edition of Wildcat Country, powered by Backcourt Marketing. Eric Cohen and Shane Dale on what is just one of the best weeks of the year. It is NCAA Tournament week, and I'll tell you what, Shane, it's even better when you have a team that's a number one seed in a region that, on paper, doesn't look all that bad.
Oh, I wish I could just sit back and enjoy it, Eric. I wish I
Nope.
could. I put it on Twitter the other day. It's butt clenching season for Wildcat fans. And I think it's even more so because, so many times over the years come so close to getting over that hump and getting back to the Final Four, and it hasn't happened. But it's great to be in this position. I'm just trying to, we try to be objective on the show. We really try, but we're fans at heart, right?
Yep.
And I'm doing my best just to, as some people on Twitter have suggested, just enjoy the moment. Enjoy the fact that they're here. They've had a fantastic season and not put those expectations. I hate people picking them to win the whole thing because
We're going to talk about that.
I hate it.
Don't get carried away here.
All right.
Let's preview.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I just want to say, I need to just be in the moment.
That's right. Live in the moment.
Live in the moment.
Here's what we got coming up on the show. Our buddy Matt Muehlebach, Pac-12 Network analyst, Mr. Triple Double, going to join us, talk about what he saw in Vegas from this Wildcats team and what to expect, obviously, in the big dance. And then I think it's her fifth time on the show, Sam Thomas, the glue, as I call her, of the women's basketball team, going to join us, talk about what it means to play at home in the big dance and to play against her sister in UNLV, which Shane will ask her, I'm sure, whether that was a coincidence by the NCAA or not.
I was right about it, though, Eric. You might mention in our live stream, I was right that they did get to play at home for this.
You did.
I thought they were going to still stay in that top 16 just barely, and they did. And I'm very happy about that.
I was not optimistic. You were right. I was wrong. It pains me to admit anytime that happens, but it happens more often than not. So, all right, let's get into buy or sell, presented by Ice Shaker. Check out our friends at iceshaker.com. You can also buy your Wildcat Country Ice Shaker online, iceshaker.com. You can use promo code Wildcat Country, capital W, capital C, and get $5 off. And these things are great.
Can I just say, and if you're watching the video, you can see this, they do the gradient right. I've had an issue with the gradient on the uniforms, both the basketball and the football. They do the gradient right on these Wildcat Country Ice Shakers. You definitely got to check them out.
Yeah, they're great. So we love them, and we hope you will buy some as well, iceshaker.com. All right, number one in buy or sell. Shane, is it an I told you so moment for me, who wanted to rest starters last weekend? Somewhat. We saw that Kirk Kriisa in the game at the end of the Stanford game, albeit it was a tight one, went down with an ankle injury. While it was a great weekend with beating, Colorado and UCLA, exacting revenge for two of Arizona's three losses this season, was it worth it? I'm going to say, well, for the purposes of this, I'm going to say, I'm not sure. Do you buy or sell that I'm not sure it was worth it? The pain versus the gain.
Oh boy. Yeah, it's tough, Eric. And I'll put it this way. It was great to win the Pac-12 tournament. Did it mean much? Probably not in terms of seeding, maybe in terms of momentum and bringing this team closer together and knowing they can win without Kirk Kriisa at this point. But it's tough. You made a good point last week about, this was an example of why you want to rest players a little bit.
Yep.
I just feel like that's just not what this team, that's not the DNA of this team to do that. And I feel like if they had sat back and they were watching those last couple of games at home, that could have been even worse. Now, I think we have to wait and see to know the rest. I will buy that you have a point, okay? I will concede that begrudgingly. But we'll have to see what happens the rest of the tournament to see, was it worth it or not? Did Kirk Kriisa's injury cost them this game or that game? It certainly seems optimistic he'll be back at some point, even though his ankle is still black and blue. But he was doing the exercises in the pool. I think you saw that tweet from
ankle was ugly, man.
It was ugly. It was ugly. Bad. But no, there's a lot of swelling though. So maybe it looked worse than it is.
Okay, Dr. Shane. Okay, get that. Yeah. All right.
Well, I'm just saying. You look at it yourself. There wasn't a ton of swelling, so that's potentially a positive thing. Your point is well taken. And look, we all knew this could happen. And in this case, it was friendly fire. It wasn't Stanford that did anything.
Right.
But this could happen at any time. It could happen. That could have easily happened in a practice. So I'm going to sell the idea that they should have, in hindsight, they should have tanked the tournament. But I will buy the idea that yes, that may end up costing them. Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to sell it as well, even though I presented it after watching that UCLA game and how it ended up. It was such a good win and such a great game that, you know what, it was worth it. My take was wrong. I mean, I'm sorry that Kerr got hurt. I'm glad that nobody else did. Hopefully a sprained ankle will not prevent him from playing as Arizona advances. They don't need him. They're not going to need him Friday against Wagner or who do they play? It's Wright State and Bryant. It is something like that.
Bryant State and Wright, or Wright State and Bryant.
Wright State and Bryant. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I think Arizona scores over 100 in that game. I'll just give you a bold prediction early. But I'm going to sell that. I love that what Arizona did last weekend. So I'm sorry about the Kerr injury, but at this point, yeah, I'll sell my own notion there. Okay. Number 2, with that said, beating UCLA on Saturday, as I just said, Shane, qualifies as the best win Arizona's had all season by yourself.
It's probably the most enjoyable in terms of being able to rally. And, what's interesting, Eric, is, those patented Arizona runs, we didn't see them go on one against Stanford or Colorado. They just didn't happen. It was more of a grinded out kind of game. Both the games were. But they saved it for UCLA. They were down 12 in the second half, and they went on. I don't know what the run was, but I don't think USC knew what hit them. They were in control, and then all of a sudden the crowd's going crazy. They look up at the scoreboard and they're behind. So it was very satisfying in terms of their most complete win of the season. I think their win at USC was probably up there. I mean, they just decimated the Trojans on the road. But in terms of just being the most satisfying, you have that recency bias, but winning the Pac-12 tournament, winning I was going to say win the rubber match against UCLA, but there could be another one. But, being up 2-1 now on the Bruins, who I still think are almost as big a national championship contender as Arizona is. And maybe equally, depending, if you consider their experience. Yeah, it was satisfying. It was fun to watch. That we would have missed out on that if they had sat all their starters and lost to Stanford in the quarterfinal.
Fair enough. Can't argue with that at all. I loved it. I thought it was the best win Arizona's had all year, and it was worth the ends were worth the means, I guess, something like that. So I'm going with it. Just a phenomenal game, and it showed everything. And you could say that about the 2018 USC Arizona Pac-12 championship game. I was there. It was great. And then we saw what happened 4 days later. They went out 5 days later. They played Buffalo and got smoked. I don't think that's happening against Wright State or whoever Bryant. Regardless, I think it was worth it. So I'm happy about that. All right, number 3. Regardless of Kerr Kriisa's status, at least for the opening game, Justin Kier should be coming off the bench and Dalen Terry should be starting as Arizona's point guard. Buy or sell?
I'm going to sell just because I think what Arizona's been doing has been working fine. I think we saw what happened against UCLA. Tommy Lloyd really seems to know what he's doing. That's an understatement. And he also, and his coaching staff, I think, also kind of gives him a heads up as far as feeling out the roster and who to sit, especially late in games. He takes some big chances sitting Tabellus toward the end of games when you're ahead. I totally get in terms of being a defensive liability and free throw shooting and all that. But no, I think if it's not broken, don't fix it. I like what Arizona's done. Just because Justin Kier starts at that position doesn't mean Dalen Terry can't step in and play the point. So I'm fine with it. I mean, basically you're down to 7, maybe 8 guys with some Adama ball sprinkled in there without Kerr Kriisa. So you know what? At this point, I think Tommy Lloyd has earned the right to do whatever he wants to do. I'm going to buy that Tommy Lloyd should do whatever he wants to do. But I like what they've done. I like what they did in the tournament. I don't think they should change it. Well,
I think you brought up a key here, Shane, and that's Adama Ball, who had 2 key 3-pointers against UCLA.
Yeah.
I mean, he showed us something. I think every Wildcat fan that watched that game was like, hey, where was this guy all year? And he showed it in a huge game. It was nice that Tommy was able to get him some minutes. So you know what? I'm going to buy this. I'm going to sell this. I think Justin Kier should start. I think Dalen Terry is good filling in if Kier was in foul trouble, as we saw in crucial down the stretch minutes, but Adama Ball showed me enough mid-game to be able to be the guy. So at point guard. So, I'm okay with that. Let Kier start as long as Kerr is out. Now, with that said, Kerr Kriisa should not play on Friday under any circumstances. I'm just saying that right now. if you can't beat a 16 seed without Kirk Risa, you got a lot bigger problems on your hands.
I'm sure Tommy would love to sit him for the first weekend. That second game, or we'll talk to Matt Muehlebach about that. Could be tricky, that those 1-8, 1-9 matchups. So you can't just assume you're going to coast. I mean, the 116, if you can't beat Wright State or Bryant without Kirk Risa, you have no business being in the tournament in the first place.
Yeah. And
the next game, I think, it really is a day-to-day thing. And I'm sure Kerr wants to get back. I have a feeling he'll be back if they get to the Sweet 16 and beyond that, but I would love to see him be able to sit this first week.
Okay, number 4, Arizona got the easiest draw of all the number 1 seeds. Buy or sell?
Oh, I'm going to sell that. Arizona's stuck with 3 other teams that finished in the top 8 in net. So 4 of the top 8 teams in net are in the South region. 4 of the top 8 teams or 7 teams ranked nationally in the AP poll. I don't have the poll in front of me. I think it's 4 of the top 8 are in that region. Now, with that said, they're only going to have to face a maximum of one of those 2 teams in the other side of the bracket in Villanova or Tennessee. So it's not like they're going to have to run the gauntlet and face all of them. But I think you're right. I think you made the point that Kansas probably has the easiest draw. And I would throw in Gonzaga there too. I think Tennessee and Duke, their seed should have flipped. I think Tennessee deserved a 2, and Duke got a 2 because they're Duke.
Right.
There's no other good logical reason in a very weak ACC. And they didn't even win the ACC tournament to put Duke as a 2 and Tennessee as a 3. So I think that the bottom half of that bracket, the South bracket, is pretty loaded. The top half doesn't scare me a lot, but I don't think they got the easiest draw now.
So I think here's how I would rank the draws for the number 1 seeds. I think Kansas got the easiest draw, so that's why I'm going to sell that. I think Auburn is not that great. I know they were ranked number 1 at a few points during the season. I just don't think they're that great.
I don't buy Auburn.
Wisconsin's on the decline. Not thrilled by them. I think Iowa's a 5 seed's dangerous, but they also, if they're not shooting well, they're going to get blown out. So I think Kansas got the easiest draw. I think U of A got the second easiest draw. I think Gonzaga got the 3rd easiest draw. And I think Baylor's is brutal. Having to face potentially UCLA.
You think Gonzaga's region is tougher than easy? What did you say? Tougher than Arizona's?
I think it's tougher than Arizona's.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think so?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I do. I think Boise State and Memphis are tricky. That's a trickier game than Arizona has to face.
Yeah.
If Arkansas gets there, Arkansas has been one of the better teams in the SEC in the last half of the year. So, and I think you look at the Texas Tech and Duke. I mean, Texas Tech is staunch defensively. And I think Duke is still, I know they are what they are. They lost to UNC in their final home game and lost to Virginia Tech in the ACC tournament championship. They were still a top 10 team most of the year. So I think Gonzaga has it tougher than Arizona personally.
That's fair. And look, Duke's a good team. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I just don't think their body of work suggested they should have been a 2 ahead of Tennessee anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so. I'll give you that. Yeah. All right. Number 5, Shane, it makes you feel good to see all of these pundits picking Arizona to win it all.
I spoiled that one. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I don't like it. Sell. I don't like it. I just, the big problem with conventional wisdom or consensus wisdom is it's typically wrong.
Fair.
So I don't like it. Does it mean anything? I don't know. I just, again, part of like living in the moment here for me, Eric, is trying not to think ahead. And then when I see people picking Arizona to win it all, people whose opinions I respect to win it all, then I start going down that road of setting myself up for disappointment. I'm a 41-year-old man and I shouldn't think that way, but I do. Okay. And I just want to see them get back there. So no, I don't like it. I wish more people were picking someone else to come out of that. I know someone at Sporting News picked Tennessee to come out of the South region, which is totally plausible.
I think Lunardi said he was going to pick Tennessee. Shocking with that. You know what?
No. Oh yeah. I know.
You know how I feel about him. Yeah.
I know you don't like him, but
no.
I don't like it. I rather they be. I don't even call it a sleeper team, but I feel like Arizona's a trendy pick because everyone's going to pick Gonzaga, or everyone doesn't want to pick Gonzaga because they're the obvious choice. So let's go with a second choice. So maybe it's just that simple,
Let me tell you why I'm not opposed to it. I know I got like 2 texts within a minute. Oh, I hate all people picking Arizona. Here's why it doesn't bother me. You have all these people that claim to be experts, right, Shane? Their whole goal is to pick the national champion and say, see, I told you so. That's why I'm okay with they're not picking Arizona because they're trying to jinx them. They're trying to pick Arizona because they want to look smarter, right? Jay Billis picked him to go to the championship. Now, Jay Billis doesn't like U of A per se, but he thinks they're good enough. Jay Billis doesn't want to look like an idiot. He wants to get it. He wants to get it right.
If Jay Billis did want to look, well, I'm okay. I'm not even going to go down that road. I wonder how many people picked Baylor to win it last year. Now, they were the second best team, considered the second best team going into that tournament, right behind Gonzaga as well.
Yeah, and I think there were some, but I think Arizona, just the way Arizona plays is a lot more flashy than Baylor was last year, and it's more attention grabbing. How about that?
I think another thing that counts in Arizona's favor, and Facebook reminded me, Eric, that you and I were. I was a guest co-host on a former radio show of yours 4 years ago today, and I was listening to some. I went back and listened to some of it because it was all on video streaming, and it was right before Arizona as a 4 seed played Buffalo, and we were talking about, is Arizona underseeded? Were they disrespected? And talked about how far they could go. And of course, they fizzled out. I think one of the big differences between that team and this team is this team genuinely likes each other. It likes playing for each other. I'm not saying that 4 years ago the team despised each other, but I don't think that chemistry was there. This team really genuinely loves each other. I mean, you see Kirk Kriisa on Christian Coloco's back, cutting down the net at the Pac-12 tournament. I mean, that's the kind of team that this is. I think that actually matters for something. They really don't care who gets the credit. They don't play a lot of hero ball. Kirk Kriisa takes some crazy ass shots sometimes, but usually they go in, so that's okay. So I think that's one big difference. I think that's one big factor in Arizona's favor compared to that team 4 years ago.
Yeah, and one thing that we need to remember about that team 4 years ago, they had lost 8 games in the regular season. And you remember they went to the Battle for Atlantis in the Bahamas. They got swept. North Carolina State, SMU, and Purdue. And they lost by 6-6 and 25. This team has lost 3 games all season. Yeah. You can't compare. And I know, DeAndre Ayton was the number 1 pick overall, but that team just didn't gel as well as this one did. So that's why it's a different feeling. Okay. The bonus question, you have no idea what I'm going to ask. So I'm going to put you on the spot for this one. Shane, buy or sell, Mick Cronin has become more hated by Arizona fans among Pac-12 coaches than either Tad Boyle or Bobby Hurley. Buy or sell?
Oh, I think I'll sell just because that ASU hatred runs deep. I give Mick Cronin another year or two. That this rivalry is still kind of blossoming. So revisit that in a year or two. I think Bobby Hurley is still, just because of his antics, is still public enemy number 1 and 2. So give Mick Cronin a little more time and he might get there. But, he said some nice things about Arizona. I think he said he was going to pick Arizona to win the whole thing, which mixed feelings about too. So he might get there eventually. But I don't think he's there yet.
See, I dislike Tad Boyle more. I think Jeff Dean will probably go with me on the Tad Boyle because he's cocky. He's just annoying. The guy just doesn't seem like a good dude. Can
I tell you how petty I am, Eric?
Sure.
KJ Simpson, who we had on this podcast when he was committed to Arizona. Yeah. I wanted Arizona to beat them in the tournament just because I was pissy that he decided to go play somewhere else, which obviously I understand because Sean Miller left and all that. But I'm telling you, I still have this like young adolescent fan in me that is battling with the analytical side of me. And usually, in those kinds of games, the adolescent fan wins out. So that's how petty I am. But yeah, I'm with you on Tad Boyle. I think he's probably up there as well. Give Mick Cronin a couple more years and hopefully I hope that Arizona and UCLA is a top 10 matchup for years to come. Yeah. And if that happens, then maybe he'll get there. But, you think back to, the rivalry with Stanford we talked about last week with Casey Jacobson. I don't know if Mike Montgomery was really hated in Tucson. I mean, it was a great rivalry. And I think that there was a lot of respect there. I don't know if there was necessarily a hatred, unless I'm remembering things incorrectly.
Well, I will say the top 3 most annoying coaches in some order in the Pac-12 are easily Cronin, Boyle, and Hurley. So you can put that up there. Even Arizona, anti-Arizona people in the conference, Tommy Lloyd just seems like a good dude. I mean, he doesn't gyrate on the sideline. Just seems like a good guy. So think about that as you're listening to this podcast. Which coach annoys you more? Some of you will say Hurley. Some of you will say Mick Cronin. Tad Boyle is my pick in there. So we'll go with that. All right, coming up next, our buddy Matt Muehlebach from the Pac-12 Network, Mr. Triple Double, going to join us. We'll ask him about Kirk Kriisa's triple double. and we'll talk to him about Arizona's chances in the tournament. And then following Matt is our other friend, Sam Thomas, making yet another appearance on the podcast, talking about the big game against UNLV and her sister coming up at McKale Center this Saturday night. Want to thank our friends once again at Ice Shaker for sponsoring Buy or Sell. And coming up next, it's our guest interviews here on Wildcat Country.
What's up, Wildcat Country? Chris Krakowski here. Bear down. Let's go. I wanted to introduce you to the newest sponsor of the Wildcat Country podcast. That's the Ice Shaker. So check this out. Keep your drinks hot. Keep your drinks cold. We got you covered. Snag one today. Use coupon code Wildcat Country at iceshaker.com.
It is great to have our friend, Pac-12 Network analyst, Mr. Triple Double, Matt Muehlebach, on with us here on Wildcat Country. This segment, once again, powered by our friends at Backcourt Marketing. All right, Matt, you were all over the TV on this past weekend, Pac-12 Network. We enjoyed seeing you. It's great. Always glad having you on. But I'm going to start with kind of a different question. So Shane and I talked about this the other week. You are Mr. Triple Double. You are the first player to ever have a triple double in Arizona basketball history. Kerr Kriisa had one this year, had the only triple-double for Arizona basketball this year. Where would you have ranked him before the season as the likely Wildcats to have a triple-double? Because for me, he wouldn't have been in my top three.
Yeah, I probably would have had Dalen Terry 1. Mm-hmm. I guess maybe you would think about like Ben Mathurin 2. I would actually think Koloko maybe 3. Maybe he would get it with 10 blocks. So yeah, maybe around there, maybe 4.
Okay. That's fair.
3 or 4. Yeah.
So Matt,
what did you have him? By the way, what did you have him ranked?
Oh, I had him. I think I had him last of the starting 5.
By the way, how many guys scored 20 points this year for it? Was it 5?
I think it was 5. I think it was Kyer, Ballo, Koloko, Kriisa, Mathurin. I think that was it.
Tubelis had 20 at some
point. So I guess 6.
I don't know. Right? Did Ballo have 20?
I don't know. Ballo did. I'm not sure Kyer did.
I don't know if Kyer did. Yeah. I want to say we're at 5, so I'm 1 short. So we'll need maybe Kyer to go off on the tournament for me to.
So basically we owe Matt a beer. Is that what we're saying?
Well,
Shane?
We'll see.
Yeah. Kyer, his high was 14. So okay. I'm sorry. I thought he had. Yeah. So 5 it is. We owe Matt a beer. Okay, continue.
All right. So Matt, I've been to that tournament before, and I was missing it this past year, but I know how loud it is, how much it feels really like McKale North, like everyone says. Just what was the atmosphere like in that arena, especially when Arizona made that comeback against UCLA in the second half?
First of all, the atmosphere in that arena was phenomenal. Really, the whole week it was really good. Like fans came back, but when Arizona plays, it's a different story. And the way I would say it is that but people like not me, a non-Arizona affiliated person, Casey Jacobson, Don McLean, I was doing the show, Ashley Adamson. They're like, my goodness, the crowd is nuts when Arizona plays. It feels like McKale Center.
Yeah, and there are U of A chants when ASU and Stanford play. I'm sure both teams love that, but it's crazy. Let me ask you about Kerr Kriisa. You're the first guy to get a triple-double at Arizona. Kerr Kriisa is the most recent. He goes down with that awful-looking ankle injury at the end of the Stanford game. At that point, I mean, we knew he wasn't going to play the rest of that weekend. Did you think Arizona was going to make the run that they did and go on and win the Pac-12 tournament, get no less than beat UCLA to win the whole thing?
Yeah, no, I kind of felt like they'd be okay, at least short term, right? Just for 2 games. And I felt like they had enough, they have enough firepower. We talk about it a lot. Their margin for error is really high. That doesn't mean they couldn't lose to anybody in the NCAA tournament. That doesn't mean that. But they have a high margin for error. So Kriisa is a great player. I think he's incredibly important to their team. In some ways, one of the most important players. But a lot of the things Kerr has done has already been sort of instilled in this team. The energy and the effort and the passion and kind of the spirit of this team. And like I said, it's losing him for a game or 2. Like in some ways, there was even more spirit because they were all playing for him. You could see it. And how cool was the whole headband thing that they did? Everybody was wearing a headband. And you could just sort of feel that energy in the team, like feeding off of that. So I wasn't that worried about it for those two games. But I was a little worried about it when Kyra got in foul trouble. And so, Arizona was in a tough position when he gets in foul trouble. And then you see why Dalen Terry, has so much potential because he almost had a triple double.
Right.
And I was rooting for him to get one, to be the only other Pac-12 player to have one in the Pac-12 tournament.
Well, you were rocking a headband yourself, if I remember right.
I had one on for a while.
Yeah.
So that was that to me, that was a no-brainer, right? When I picked Arizona, I had to put the headband on. We were actually hoping, to get him over there so I could have the headband on while he was over, because he would say something. He would. He's not afraid to say what's on his mind. So we were hoping to see that, but didn't get him over there. But that was fine.
I have to ask you a question, kind of, this is an aside question. I know some U of A fans don't like Don McLean's commentary because they think he's too UCLA biased. Yeah, I think he's a great broadcaster. When you guys are watching the game, the Arizona UCLA game together, presumably you two were together, right? Watching that one.
Yes.
What's that like? Can you kind of tell us what's going through you guys on the set watching that game? Is he obnoxious? Are you obnoxious? Like what's that like?
Well, I'd say a couple things. Don's fun to work with because he's the villain, and he takes that mantle actually seriously. Like he not only loves it, but he's like that's what he does, right? And he's an excellent broadcaster. Like he really knows the game. Some people don't know that Don works out NBA players. He's a pre-draft workout guy, so he's extremely, and he actually works, for the Clippers as well. He does some pregame and some games with the Clippers. So he's really in tune with the NBA game. I think that helps some of his analysis in college, but he's a Pac-12 guy. I think he's passionate about the conference. He follows it very well. But I think Don and I both will joke a little bit about our teams. And, like when I used to do studio with Kevin O'Neill, he would crush me for being the Arizona guy. But I really take it seriously that I am neutral in terms of my commentary. And I think Don's the same. I mean, and Don's actually told me, he said that, it's funny because he said Arizona fans, he was joking and saying they may like me more than any other fans in the conference. Now they've come to respect, I think, what he did at UCLA and what he does in terms of his commentary. And so, I think we're both the same. Once the game starts, we watch it, together. We're not rooting for our team in any fashion. Now I will, in the NCAA tournament, I will root for Arizona as hard as anybody. And by the way, I'll root for any Pac-12 team that's in the tournament. I was rooting for Oregon State last year, UCLA last year. I mean, but during games that Arizona plays, and especially if they play Pac-12 teams, I'm not rooting for them in any way, shape, or form. And he doesn't either. I mean, I think we're pretty professional about that. And I think it's critical that you have to do that if you're a spokesman for the conference. So, we might, and actually, like I said, there was not even a lot of joking before or after or during the game. Now, during the show, we kind of joked about our times at each school. And I think it's important. That's cool to me. That's cool that we take pride in where we played, and, that's our alma mater, and we can have fun with it. And I hope, and I really believe it gives us a lot of credibility when UCLA is playing Arizona. Here you have two, ex-players from the schools talking about those schools. So we can kind of give each other, talk some smack around that, which is fun.
With the performance that you saw from Arizona and somewhat from UCLA this weekend, do you have any doubt that both teams should at least reach the Elite Eight in their regions? Even UCLA, which has a little tougher matchup than Arizona might, getting that far. And do you see both as legitimate Final Four contenders? Obviously, Arizona probably yes, but UCLA as well?
Well, I'll say three things about that. One, I think UCLA, I would not surprise me in the least if UCLA and Arizona win the Final Four.
Okay.
And that's number one. Number two, watching UCLA live, just see them, 3 games in a row, I was incredibly impressed with how good they are. And they are really, really good. They're not at all even in the conversation of this team's not that good or they're overrated or they just are really well coached. They have people at every position. I think Arizona's a little better than them, and they showed it by winning that game. But UCLA is fantastic. And but the third thing that I would say to you is I actually think it would not surprise me if any team in the whole tournament doesn't make it anywhere. Like that, in the sense that that tournament is so hard. I'm just looking at this. Like you have a team like TCU, plays Seton Hall in the first round, and the winner, most likely plays Arizona, right? TCU just beat Kansas a week ago, I think it was.
Right. And almost beat them twice. Yeah.
Almost beat them twice. Kansas is a 1 seed. Like it's not like, so the difference between these teams, and I just want to be like clear about it. I remember, this is going to be like a very long, or not a long, but a historical thing that probably nobody cares about. I remember the second round in 1989 when we had the number 1 team in the nation and we played against Clemson up in Boise. They had Eldon Campbell and Dale Davis, 2 pros that played almost like 30 years combined. So we got to play these 2 guys that no one even knows about. They're incredible pros, and I think our team was better. And I think in a best 4 out of 7 game, a series, there's no doubt we're going to probably win that. But dude, you go 1 game against 2 NBA players that are 6'11" and 6'10" and dominant. It is, I can't tell you how hard this tournament is, even for 1 seeds.
Yeah. And I think it's the most brutal playoff format in all of sports, really. I know it sounds like an overstatement, but you have 1 bad game or 1 bad half and everything you did is out the window. Looking down the line at Arizona's bracket region, Matt, you mentioned TCU. Obviously, it would be a concern in the second round matchup. The bottom half of that bracket, you got Villanova, you got Tennessee. The winner of that game could, if it comes down to one of those 2 teams against Arizona in the Elite Eight, both teams could give Arizona problems for different reasons. What are some of the major, roadblocks in that region, in your opinion?
Well, I guess just sort of quickly first, and this, Seton Hall is obviously, seated ahead of TCU, who we just said could be looming as a threat. So, I'd be concerned about them. Okay, Houston in the bracket. On paper, they're a net 3. Net. Like, I guess on paper you could make the argument they're a 1 seed.
Without their best player, though. Without Sasser, who's their best player. Yeah.
True. But remember, without him, but also they've had Final Four experience. They were in the Final Four a year ago. So, Illinois is concerning to me because it's the old thing when you beat a team, that sometimes the team that lost has the edge on that. And by the way, they've got one of the best big men in the entire country. Granted, Arizona played terrific against him at Illinois. I mean, that concerns me. I think Villanova, the way they play, they have experience. They've got a Hall of Fame coach. They have incredible confidence. They have a 1 guy who's a big time player in Gillespie. And this team, I think, plays with less tempo than other, Villanova teams. And that concerns me the way they play.
Me too. Yeah. I'm right there with you. And we talked about this during our live stream. Is that in terms of tempo, they're like number 345 out of 358. They play very slow and methodical. And I think they're one of the teams that could potentially take Arizona out of its rhythm. Let me ask you, Matt, about Kirk Reese's health. How important is he to Arizona, even getting to the Final Four? I'm hoping that, I think most fans are hoping maybe they can get through the first weekend without him, which is not a given by any means. But do they need him back at some point in order to get to the Final Four?
Look, I mean, they could do it without him, but no, I think it's critical. And again, I'll go back to this 2 things. The spirit thing, which I think having him on the floor is really critical. The other thing is he's just a gamer. He hits big shots. He takes big shots. He makes big shots. In the Illinois game we just talked about, what did he have in the second half in that game? He was a huge reason they won at Illinois. It's a huge reason they beat Oregon because he hit a 30-footer with a couple minutes ago. Huge reason they beat UCLA at home because he hit 2 big threes late. Yep. So I think having the ball in his hands, and it's the domino effect. Having him start, now you come off the bench with this incredible 6-year guy, Justin Kier. So that domino effect, what they did in the inside, in the interior to UCLA was they wore him down. It was like a football team that just after the fourth quarter, they just wore UCLA down. And I think having another play, the 8-guy rotation that they have is so tight and so good that can really wear teams down. So I think it's really important. Now, with that said, could they still make it to the Final Four without him? Yes, they could.
Have you filled out a bracket, Matt? This is my last question for you. Do you have your Final Four teams yet, or have you had time to do that since you got back from Vegas?
I haven't had time. I'm filling them out with my family tonight. My daughters absolutely love it. They're volleyball players, but they love the brackets like everybody does. So we'll fill them all out, and we'll sit down. It'll be fun. We'll have a good time with that. I don't know. Have you done yours? Who's your Final Four?
Yeah. So Shane and I are that's coming up next on Wildcat Country. It's our Final Four. So we'll have to tell you off the air what we're doing here. But I will say this: I am biased, and I'm curious if you will be as well. I mean, Arizona has looked so good, Matt, and they looked so good against UCLA. How do you not pick them to at least the championship game against potentially Gonzaga? How do you not pick them? I mean,
I could answer that.
I mean, I would, to answer that with my earlier comment, which is,
I know it's a tournament. Yeah.
It's one game. And so, but on paper, I'm with you. It's them and Gonzaga they've looked better than anyone for the entire stretch of and you could actually even make an argument. Arizona's not only the one seed, but the one of the one seeds. Like, because I think their wins have been better than Gonzaga's, but forget that. It doesn't really matter. Gonzaga's big time. They were beating UCLA earlier this year by 30 something. So I don't have to tell them. But if I had to do my Final Four right now with like no time, I'd say Gonzaga, Arizona. I'm a little worried about Kansas. They've been a little up and down.
They got a great draw, though. They got a great draw.
I would probably have in that region. I would probably go with Wisconsin or Auburn. I'm thinking Auburn.
Okay.
And then I would probably go in the other one. I'm taking. I'd take Kentucky in the other one.
Okay. Fair. All right. That's fair. I don't want to spoil our picks here. All right. Last question for you, Matt. This is kind of another random one. I always like to ask those. We're seeing a lot of pundits pick Arizona to win it all.
Hate it.
If you were a fan, would you be concerned by that, or would you love it?
No, you're absolutely concerned by it. You don't want anybody to know about you in this tournament. You want to be the underdog, like you want to have the edge on your shoulder. Yeah, picking that is sometimes it feels a little uncomfortable.
Well, we always appreciate having you on Wildcat Country. We look forward to having you on again soon. And Shane, I would like to have Matt on again before the Final Four, assuming Arizona makes it, because we want some Final Four stories from him from his freshman year, the 1988 team. So Matt, always great to talk to you. You're one of our favorite guests. We always appreciate having you on the show.
Totally appreciate it, guys. Same. Really, really love being on the show. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the March Madness.
Here with Dale Duncan, a very satisfied customer of Backcourt Marketing. Dale, can you tell us what Backcourt was able to do for your company?
Well, they're taking me to the next level with helping me connect to new people for my business. They're helping me find new customers online. They meet with me monthly. They're listening to what I need, and they're really focused on helping me get there.
Excellent. Well, Dale, we appreciate your time. If you know someone who needs social media help, refer them to Backcourt Marketing and get rewarded. Or if you need social media assistance yourself, make sure to check out backcourtmarketing.com.
Shane, I'm very excited. I was not on the last time that you had who I proclaimed the glue of the women's basketball team, Sam Thomas, on with us here in Wildcat Country. So, Sam, I'm glad to be here for your, I think it's 5th appearance on the show. Glad to have you back. I'm going to ask a bunch of cliche questions, I'm sure, but I'm going to start with this one. So I really think women's basketball does it right in allowing the top 4 seeds to host on their home courts. You did not obviously have a chance to do that the last 2 years, obviously 2020 with COVID, and last year everybody was in San Antonio. What does it mean to you to get a chance to play at home in front of your fans in potentially your final games?
Yeah, it's huge. I think it's a huge advantage. I love obviously playing at home, and I love how the women's side does that. I think it's just a huge advantage. I mean, you're playing where you're comfortable at, the rims, the balls, where you're going. We are staying in a hotel just to, get our minds right, get fed right and everything. So it'll be weird, when we go into a bus and like people will probably be directing us like, oh, this is where you go. And we're like, yeah, we know that. But it's definitely fun to be able to play in front of the fans again for hopefully my final 2 times.
Yeah, Sam, what was the last, maybe it's like 9 days or so in between that really tough loss to Colorado in the Pac-12 tournament? And when the selection show on Sunday, you were wondering, okay, have we done enough in the committee's eyes to get another home game or possibly 2 home games, essentially? What was that like for you and the team?
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of like rethinking, like, oh, if we would have won USC, we want to be in this position. Or if we would have beat Colorado, obviously we want to be in this position. There was a lot of moments where we could have like sealed the deal and we wouldn't be waiting. But I mean, after the loss, we took a couple of days off, got to relax a little bit, relax our mentals. It was spring break, so no school. So it was really nice to have those days off and just practice, focus on us, and just know we did what we could do, and now it's out of our hands. So luckily, we saw the number 4 next to our name, and now we're back in McKale again.
Looks like y'all are going to have Kate Reese back for the tournament as well. How much did you miss her, and how excited are you to have her back on the court?
Yeah, it was definitely hard not having her. Played with her, obviously, my whole time here. She's never missed a game. So to not have her there, it was really weird. Obviously, it was hard for the team because she is such a huge scorer for us, defender. She pretty much does it all. So to not have her was a big adjusting period, but very glad to have her back now for the last couple games that we have.
All right. So I know you guys struggled towards the end of the season. 3 of your last 5 were losses. Tell us why things are going to be different in the tournament. Why is this weekend? Why is Saturday night and Monday going to be different? And you're going to obviously win this bracket, or at least these 2 games.
Yeah, I think just because it's March Madness, this is where it's fun. Everyone plays their best. I think I read a tweet where I think we lost 4 of the last 5 games last year too, made it to the national championship. So honestly, I feel like, the season we just had kind of is like over, and now March Madness is like this new season where everything's 0-0. Everyone's really excited. It's the best time of the season. So we're just really excited. We're hungry. We're going to go out and try and get a bunch of wins.
Based on what you all did last year, which was just unbelievable, do you think you have like some edge over the competition with that experience, having been there, having gone through that pressure of an Elite 8 game, a Final 4 game, a national championship game, as compared to the teams that you'll play along the way?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's an advantage knowing and like being there before. Not a lot of teams obviously make it to the national championship game. So I think we get some knowledge of, taking it day by day, game by game, but it's also honestly just being in the tournament is a whole new experience from not going to the tournament. So we're really just focused on getting our freshmen and the people who haven't been there yet, kind of get them the feel of it and prepare them as much as we can.
So, all right, let's dive into this, Sam. So your sister, as well documented, you're going to be facing her who plays for UNLV on Friday. And not only that, but Kayla Rooks, the daughter of former Arizona men's basketball star Sean Rooks, who passed away a few years ago, also happens to play for UNLV. Just be honest with us. And you're gone soon, so you can say whatever you want. You don't think the selection committee scheduled this game by chance, do you?
I definitely don't think it's by chance. I think they were looking, they were scheming, they saw everything, because there's no way that was just out of just coincidence that happened. And I know they have a couple girls on the team that have their parents or their grandparents that live in Tucson too. So I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of UNLV fans. I really wanted to play UNLV though, obviously because of my sister and Kayla. We played against her at Washington. Such a nice girl, great family. Jade loves playing with her. So just to be able to play them, I think it should be really fun.
Saw a news story that I think you reposted on Twitter where your family's going to finally be able to wear those Arizona UNLV like half and half shirts. And I know your mom is kind of agonizing over it because one of you has to lose. What's it been like conversing with your sister and your family over these last 24, 48 hours?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, a lot of jokes. We're all excited. My sister just cares about coming to Tucson to see my dog because she loves my dog. She calls her her niece. She always calls me just to see her. So I think she's more excited for that. But, obviously it's going to be a huge game on Saturday. We're just, talking a little trash to each other, trying to get their scouting report. She's trying to get mine because we are best friends. So, I mean, it'll be some friendly competition.
When is the last time that you actually played against her? And what is that dynamic like on the court?
I think it'd probably just be in the summer, just doing little family 2-on-2, because I've always been on her team. Travel ball, high school ball, always been on the same team as her. So kind of know how each other play. So that should be fun. But I mean, it's definitely just a fun dynamic. We both play the same. We run the same. Everyone says we shoot the same and we look like each other. So it should be an interesting time.
I can't wait to watch that. It's going to be epic. It's really cool that the tournament committee, you know, for all that we give them crap on the men's and women's side, they did something really cool here. You know, they did your family a favor. You get to all watch in one place. So that's awesome. It's just going to be, I guess the question for you is about the McKale environment. Let's talk about the fans and what they mean to you and what you expect that experience to be like against UNLV.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I was mentioning to someone else, like my sister's the only person in my family that hasn't been to a game in McKale. So I'm hoping we're going to get maybe a sellout, a lot of fans just to show her what it's like. And so I know everyone's going to be loud. They're going to be going crazy. I mean, we haven't hosted in so long. They probably thought after watching the men's final game, they probably thought that was the last time we were going to have a game in McKale. So to be able to bring back hopefully 2 more games, I think everyone's just so excited and thrilled.
Sam, does this time of year with this team, does it have a similar vibe to last season when, like you mentioned, you all struggled down the stretch a bit, but then you went on that run? Does it have kind of that same feeling? Does that maybe giving you all some confidence going into this tournament?
Yes, it feels like we're reliving last year. I feel like, you know, we had a bad loss to UCLA. We had a bad loss to Colorado. We were supposed to win against Colorado, lost however many games, lost that same last time. And then we come together, we take that break and we're just like, okay, guys, like, let's just win. What are we doing? Like, let's just do it for each other, do it for Adia, and let's just go out there and bring home a trophy to the Tucson community.
Yeah. What's Adia's message been to the team? Has she mentioned, like, look, we've been here before, done that. We know how to overcome this adversity. I mean, obviously you got some different players on the team, but, you know, you and Kate and so many others were part of that team last season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's definitely just been stressing, taking it game by game. We're not going to make some drastic change in the next week that's going to make us win a national championship or not. So we're just going to have to focus on ourselves and do what we do best.
Let me ask you, off the court, you've had your own clothing line now. And then I remember last time we talked, I asked you about the possible deal with Sam's Club. And you said, weren't allowed to say anything at the time, but something could be on the horizon. Well, now it's official. You are a Sam's Club athlete. Just tell me what that means for you, and just let fans know what that actually means.
Yeah. So thank you to all the fans who tagged me in that. First of all, I just woke up one morning and everyone had tagged me in the post. And I was like, I'm going to have to do it at Sam's Club. So yeah, I filmed a little video and then they reached out and I was just so shocked because I've always had a Sam's Club membership. It wasn't like anything like new or just doing it for the NIL deal. When I got to college, my mom was like, you need to get your Sam's Club membership. So now I have my own without my mom. So it was great to just be able to work with them, got to talk to the other Sams involved and the people running it. So just got to do some TikToks for them, which I love doing, comfortable with TikTok. So they're probably going to release some of that stuff soon. But yeah, it's just great to endorse some of their products. They asked me what I like what do I want to do with this? So it's just really been, I feel like I've been able to take the lead on this.
Yeah, as if you don't have enough on your plate, your own clothing line. I mean, all right. So my last one for you, Sam. I was at the Utah football game and I have season tickets right behind the section where where it's like the person on the field holds the time, right, during the commercial breaks. And I looked down in like the second quarter, I think it was, and I'm like, oh, she looks familiar. Oh, that's Sam Thomas. And by the way, Lucas, who you're dating, happened to kick, I think, a 58-yard field goal. Just talk about that whole experience.
I remember just real quick. I remember Eric texted me because he was at the game and said, Sam's going crazy right now after he made that kick.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Yes, that was part of my little my semester internship. So got to hold the clock. It was really fun. I mean, it was really fun as much as it is to stand there and hold the clock, but, got to be close up, obviously dating Lucas. So, I got front row seats to watch him. And then he just so happens to kick 57-yarder. And I was talking to the guy who's kind of in charge of me, like telling me when to rotate it. And I was just talking to him and he's like, Lucas is about to kick. And I was like, wait, what? And because I'm so focused on not trying to get ran over by people coming in and out. So I was just like, wait, what? And I was so scared. My heart was pounding. I was like, I can't watch it. And then he made it. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. I should hold the clock more often.
Well, I know the football team would I'm sure love to have you back if you're around next fall. And but that was really cool to watch just from a fan's perspective. And your reaction to when he made that kick was priceless.
Thank you.
So that was epic. But Sam, we always appreciate having you on Wildcat Country. Best of luck in the tournament. We expect big things, and thank you for all you've done as an Arizona Wildcat.
Thank you.
Great to catch up with both Matt and Sam, and we always thank them for joining us here in Wildcat Country. Shane, I know that you and I, let's be honest, we're not as briefed on women's basketball across the nation outside of our Wildcats. We know that Arizona got in paired in as the number 4 seed in South Carolina's region. South Carolina is the number 1 overall seed in the women's tournament. Yeah. I think the bigger question this weekend, as we go and make predictions about the men's and women's side here, will Arizona advance to the Sweet 16 to set up a potential matchup against South Carolina? Now, to do that, they'll have to beat UNLV as who's a 13 seed, and then they would have to beat North Carolina as a 5 seed at McKale
Most likely.
Center. Most likely. Yeah.
And upsets are fewer and further between on the women's side.
Okay.
Those don't happen nearly as often. Last season was a little bit different because you didn't have the teams hosting games because everything was more centralized. But yeah, so probably UNLV and the North Carolina. I think it all depends on Kate Reese and her health. And if she's able to go, good 30 minutes and be herself, then I think Arizona probably advances past both teams. I think they'll beat UNLV either way. It'll probably be a close game. It'd be, the interesting dynamic, with the Thomas sisters and all the history that UNLV has, the players have related to Tucson and U of A. They'll beat UNLV. North Carolina, I think it's going to largely come down to Kate Reese's health. And if she is really, I can't imagine she'd be 100%, but 80 to 90%, if she's able to hit, close to half her shots. And I think the biggest thing is your presence inside, getting some rebounds. I think Arizona missed that a lot while she was out. So I'll go ahead and predict, since they're at home, that they'll get out of the that side or those first 2 games and get to the Sweet 16. But I think if Kate's not healthy, I think it could be tough.
Without knowing anything about Stephen F. Austin, who's the 12 seed in Arizona,
they beat GCU in the WAC championship.
There you go. Okay, so we got something there. North Carolina won 7 of their last 9 games, so they're dangerous. Lost to Virginia Tech in overtime in the first round of the ACC tournament. I think Arizona finds a way. The home crowd will be a huge factor. I just don't see them losing a game at home. And in the tournament, I think they make it to the Sweet 16. And at that point, you know what? It's all gravy from there. I mean, it's kind of, and I know some people don't like this approach, but if Arizona gets the Sweet 16 a year after making the national championship game and losing their best player in Ari McDonald, and if they can just defend their home court, I think we'll all be happy and say, you know what? Very good season for the Lady Wildcats and excited to see the future. If they fall short and don't get there, we have a right to be a little disappointed considering they were a top 10 team most of the year. Is that a fair assessment?
I think that's fair. And I think you make a good point that, it reminds me on the men's side, Arizona went to the national championship in 2001. The following year, they lost 4 out of 5 starters. Jason Gardner was the only one who came back. And they still got to the Sweet 16. They overachieved. It was a great coaching job by Lute Olson. They were a 3 seed in the tournament. So, yeah, if they could get back there. Now, with that said, I'm sure the team has higher expectations than that.
Sure.
Maybe they'll shock us again. I would go on a limb to say that if they get to the Final Four again this year, that would be even more shocking than last year because, number one, no Ari McDonald. And number 2, that would mean getting past South Carolina, which I think is better than UConn was when they played UConn in last year's Final Four.
Okay, good enough. So at this point, make it to the Sweet 16. It's all gravy from there. Okay, let's talk about the men's tournament. We'll just kind of talk about Arizona's region. Shane, who do you see? I mean, do you see Arizona making the Sweet 16? And if so, who do you see them beating in the second round? And then who would they play in the Sweet 16, in your opinion? The way you filled out your bracket.
I like them to play probably TCU in that second round. I think that game is going to be extremely uncomfortable. I think it's going to be a close game. Like Matt Muehlebach pointed out, and I had forgotten this, TCU, they beat Kansas at home, and then they almost beat them in Lawrence. They played back-to-back games, and they split the 2. But TCU looked every bit as good as Kansas did. So I think it's going to be a tricky game. I think it will probably be TCU. Our buddy Corey Left may disagree and think it's Seton Hall. because he's out in New Jersey. He's actually seen some Pirate games in person.
Yep.
But I think it'll probably be Arizona and TCU. Arizona probably wins a close nail biter, and we all just count our blessings that they're into the second week. Hopefully, at that point, they get Kirk Kriisa back, because I'm gonna assume he's not going to play this first week, and I don't know, because it should be Illinois if they face in the Sweet 16. Some people are picking Chattanooga to win that game, and then Ken Pomeroy himself said that Houston would probably be favored to beat Illinois, and the metrics love Houston. The net rankings, Ken Pom, I think they're in top 5 in both. I think they're actually in ESPN's BPI, and I know what we say about ESPN. I believe Arizona is 4th, and Houston is actually in front of them. So I don't know how much that means. If they face Houston, obviously that might be the one game where they would not have a bit of a home court advantage, because the game would be in San Antonio.
Sure.
But I suspect it's going to be Illinois in a rematch and another uncomfortable game. But I think that would probably be the Sweet 16 matchup. I know it's not exciting, it's chalk, but I think Arizona, Illinois is probably what you're going to see.
All right. I was going to lean towards TCU, and then I remembered TCU is coached by Jamie Dixon, who is on one of my, let's just say, don't bet on in the tournament lists.
Okay.
I'm going to add coaches. Bill Self generally is on there. Jay Wright used to be on there before. Obviously, he got off there with 2 national titles. Matt Painter from Purdue is on there. And Jamie Dixon is a charter member. So I'm going to go with Seton Hall to win that game.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with Houston to advance to the Sweet 16 before they get taken out by Arizona, who advances to at least the Elite 8. And then I have them playing Tennessee, who I believe beats Villanova in a fantastic game. And I have Arizona going on to the Final Four and representing the South region in New Orleans. Would you agree with that, Shane?
I think Villanova, I think their experience and their very, call it methodical, some would call it boring tempo, that's very effective, is going to serve them well in this tournament.
Okay.
Put it this way. If it's Arizona and Tennessee, like you predict, I think Arizona wins. I think they'll win that rematch with Tennessee, even though the Volunteers are playing every bit as well as Arizona is right now.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm going, again, picking the second weekend games. I'm going to the assumption that Kirk Kriisa is back and healthy enough to play at least 20 minutes. Okay. So I'm going on that premise.
Yep.
If it's Villanova, and I think it will be, I would lean Nova in that game. Just because, yeah, I would. I think that, we talked about with Matt Muehlebach. I think actually we talked about this after we were done recording. I remember a game a long time ago. Alabama beat Arizona in 1990 in the second round. Alabama was a 7 seed. Arizona was a 2. I believe it was later in that tournament that Alabama played Loyola Marymount with Paul Westhead. How quick they went. They'd score 100 points a game. Alabama played the opposite kind of style, a very methodical, slow pace, and that style won out. Now Arizona was better than that Loyola Marymount team, but I think that their very slow tempo combined with that experience, they have guys on that team who won a national championship. That concerns me a lot. So put it this way, I'll be rooting for Tennessee to beat Villanova. If it's Arizona and Villanova, I would pick Villanova to win that game.
Okay, so who are you picking to come out of that region right now?
I'd go with Villanova.
Okay,
I'd go Villanova.
Yeah. Okay, you're going Villanova. All right, I'm going Arizona. All right, give me your Final Four, and how does it shake out for you in New Orleans?
I really don't want to pick Kansas to get to the Final Four, but I look at their region, and none of these teams scared me. I think Andy Katz, of all people, if I remember right, he actually picked Iowa to come out of that region, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that's a definite possibility. Maybe they ride that momentum, even though I think momentum's a bit overrated in the tournament. Yep. You think back to the 97 Arizona team, they lost 2 games going in, but Iowa could definitely get there. USC is another team that could surprise. Auburn doesn't scare me that much. I agree. Wisconsin, I don't know. Providence looked like they was Creighton went on a 31-2 run against them the other day. So I don't know how you go from that to get into the Final Four. So I think Kansas has the easiest region, and largely because of that, I'll pick them to get there.
Okay.
I'm going to go with UCLA over Kentucky in the East region. I think UCLA is a national championship contender and probably playing better than Kentucky right now.
Okay.
And I'll go with the Zags out west. I would, like a lot of people, I'm trying to think of a team that might beat them. I don't buy Arkansas. I don't buy Duke. I know Duke beat Gonzaga earlier in the season, but I think the Zags will win a rematch. to have the home court edge, so to speak, in that game. Texas Tech doesn't scare me a whole lot. So what have I got? I got Gonzaga. I don't have it written down. I'm just going.
You have Gonzaga, UCLA in one half of the bracket.
Yeah.
And who are you going with there?
I'd go with Gonzaga to win, because Gonzaga destroyed UCLA the first time they played.
And then you would have Villanova and Kansas.
I think if Villanova gets to the Final Four, I think they win the whole thing.
Really?
I think so. They're not the best team in the country, but I am leaning on that experience and that very boring style that they play. To honestly, I'm just completely honest.
Yeah.
Part of this pick is me protecting my heart. Okay.
Fair.
Okay. Yeah. I think Arizona absolutely could come out of that region. I think they're the most talented team in that region. I would love to see it, but their coaches have a ton of experience in the tournament. Their players just don't. And I think that really matters come this time of year. So again, Villanova, Tennessee, if they face off, I'm rooting for the Volunteers, even though they beat Arizona earlier in the season. I think if it's Nova, if they get that far, and they can beat Arizona, I don't know who would stop them at that point.
That's why you do backup brackets when you're in a pool that allows it. Because I will have a backup bracket with Villanova just to protect my incentive there, I guess, something like that. Anyways,
you're hedging.
Yes, hedging a little bit. All right, so here's my regions. I think I have Gonzaga over Texas Tech in the West. I have UCLA over Kentucky in the East. I have Kansas over Wisconsin. Our old friends Wisconsin in the Midwest, and in the South I have Arizona over Tennessee. I am going Arizona over Kansas. You know what? It's, I guess, payback for 2003 and, go back to 97 when things worked out when Arizona won the national championship. They had to beat Kansas. And then I have Gonzaga beating UCLA in a rematch of last year's Final Four, which was epic. I know Gonzaga beat them by 30-something earlier in the year, as Matt referenced, but I think it'll be a really close game again. And then I'm going, you know what, Shane? I'm going Arizona to win the national championship.
I know
you know what? I don't.
How about this, Eric? Tell me why. Break down just in terms of the matchup between Arizona and Gonzaga, why you would lean Arizona. And I'm genuinely curious.
I think Arizona can match up with Holmgren and Timmy, and I don't think most other teams can. Okay. And I think when you put Koloko and Tubelis and throw in a Ballo in there, they can bang with those guys. And I just think Arizona will out physical Gonzaga. I think our guard play, with Matherin, Matherin's probably better than any player on the court outside of Holmgren. And so I'll take my chances there in a really high scoring game, something like an 85-77 game like that. I think Arizona pulls away, similar to the game that we saw against UCLA last Saturday. Now, if they match up in the finals, I think the understudy beats the professor, and Tommy Lloyd gets a national championship in his first year coaching the Wildcats, which would just be, at that point, you just build the guy a statue now. It doesn't matter what he does the rest of his career. Listen, I hope I'm right. I'm probably picking, with my heart. But I really think this Arizona team showed me something this weekend, and I'm going to go with it, Shane. And I hope you don't look at it as a jinx like everybody else. I saw enough this weekend to change my mind about Gonzaga versus Arizona.
I think we're both going with our heart in a way, Eric. You're going with yours in a positive way, and I'm protecting mine. Okay. Put it that way. But right. I do, but legitimately though, I wouldn't make that pick if I didn't think it was possible. And right. I just think we've seen Villanova do it before. They have their leading scorer and their third leading scorer. They were on that last national championship team. And I think that matters. Again, Arizona's got a lot of coaches with experience, including Steve Robinson, who's won 3 national championships, but they don't play. I think it's about players this time of year. And I think that's going to make a difference at some point.
Well, we want to thank, first of all, our sponsors, Ice Shaker, who we talked about, but Backcourt Marketing, we've talked about them for the last 6+ months. They have stuck with us, and we very, very much appreciate their support. If you know of a small business that needs some social media help, check them out, backcourtmarketing.com. And I'm sure they will supply us with plenty of tweets to go around during the NCAA tournament at backcourtmktg on Twitter. So we appreciate them. Ice Shaker as well, who sponsors Buy or Sell. Check out iceshaker.com. Want to thank Matt Muehlebach for joining us once again, for Sam Thomas for her appearance for the 5th time, I believe it is. Shane, I think all we can ask for the next week when we record this podcast is that both the men's and women's teams are still playing and we are not ready yet to talk about baseball, softball, and football spring practice.
I'm excited to talk about all those things, but not yet. Hopefully it's another couple of weeks before before that takes the main focus and we really dive in, which we will when it's time.
And by the way, let's think about this too. When is the last time we were able to talk about, as a U of A fan, when's the last time you were able to talk about the men's and women's teams at the same time in the NCAA tournament?
Long time. I think it was 04, 05.
Yeah.
05, yeah.
Yeah.
The year after I graduated, yep.
Yeah, and it's been a long time. So let's enjoy the moment. Let's get through the weekend.
Living in the moment.
Let's as they say in March, to quote the late Jim Valvano, survive and advance. Thanks for listening to Wildcat Country, and as always, bear down.